Here we are joined by Darren Sherlock, Paul Crossley, the men behind MMA Expo, the minds, as it were, the brains. We chatted a few weeks ago, probably about 8 weeks ago, and for those people that didn't listen to the podcast, I just want to start there, which is one, why did you decide that this needed to be done?
It's about pushing the sport forwards, really. I mean, MMA, we believe it's still not at its peak yet. In the UK, certainly. If you look at America, you know, a lot of the guys over here are household names in America, but they're not even in the UK, and they live over here. So it's just about bringing the sport to the forefront, and we believe it's now big enough to stand on its own 2 feet as an expo.
You know, there was an event planned a few years ago. I'm not going to name names and I'm not going to name people, but surely that was something you guys had to think about when you decided to put this on, sort of the bad press that was given due to the fact that a week before they decided it wasn't going to run. How did you guys sort of get through that?
It's probably been the biggest obstacle we had, in all honesty. One of the things that event did highlight is that it was something that people wanted, so there was obviously an interest there. So, you know, on one side it's a positive, but it burned a lot of people, it burned a lot of companies. So when you're trying to deal with those companies and keep them involved, it's been difficult, because it wasn't just the fact that the event didn't go ahead. Some of these guys had put money into advertising, promotional material, and then to have it pulled at the last minute didn't quite work for them. So we've been very careful. We set up with a completely different structure. It's very much UK focused, very much about pushing the UK scene and pushing the UK guys. And so by having that different focus, it's kind of allowed us to have a differentiating factor between that and what we're doing here as well. So
you said that, you know, MMA, when we've been talking, you said MMA is still sort of niche here. It's as you say, we can have our stars walk down the street and people don't look twice, whereas in America or Canada or Brazil or places like that, why is MMA, and again, this is sort of an introduction question, it's a cheesy question, but why is MMA important to you guys? Why not just, you know, you've got a Thai boxing background, you were saying, why MMA?
Well, I've been involved in MMA for many years. You know, I run a club myself as well, and in running a club, you can see, you know, people still have a lot of misconceptions about it. They think, oh, it's full of thugs or whatever. And I think it's important to try and break down some of those barriers in the UK for the sport. You know, I love the sport. That's why I'm involved in it.
It's a great sport, isn't it? At the end of the day,
yeah.
It's a great sport. You know, like I said, Darren runs a club. You see kids being involved, and unlike some martial arts, and like I say, I'm a Thai boxer. My background from Thai boxing and Taekwondo. MMA kind of brings all those things together. So as a dad, you know, I'm happy for my kid to come do MMA because he's learning different skills, and in that he might find something he likes. Might like wrestling, he can take that avenue. So it actually allows a broadening of martial arts as well, I think, and it's you know, and it's still got a long way to go, and it still offer a lot to people. So
now you guys have been promoting this and working hard, well, for months and months and months now. But for anybody who might have been living under a rock or had their head up their ass, what is this event going to? What are you going to bring to this event? What are the things people can expect to see?
Obviously, the biggest thing about the expo is it's an exhibition, so there's trade stands there. So we've got a lot of companies that are, you know, not necessarily based in MMA. So we've got nutritional companies come in, so you'll be able to find out information about supplements. You've got equipment companies come in, and then we've got a whole range of other companies that will be there that want, you know, to get involved with MMA in some way, shape, or form. So that's probably the biggest thing.
I think at any one time there's probably 5 different things going on at once, and the way I see it, it's like getting the TV Times at Christmas. Yeah. Thinking, what do I want to watch? You know, you're going to go in there and there's seminars going on at the same time as live competitions, at the same time as talks, and there's going to be so much going on. That
we've been quite careful. I think one of the other reasons that the expo came about is if you look at other shows that currently could take place, or other expos that take place, they kind of add MMA onto the end, add martial arts onto the end, really. And being a martial artist or being an MMA fan, you have to go because I want to stay involved with it. So we've been quite careful, you know, to try and include these sports, but from the beginning. So we've got the British Grappling Champs on the Sunday, for instance. And we're making a big thing of that. That's free to watch once you're in the expo. We've got Thai boxing and kickboxing going on a Saturday. We've got some light continuous stuff for the kids as well, and that's free to watch. Then we have a gym zone where we've got a company called Exco coming and putting a big functional training rig where we'll be doing some training stuff, and you can come and try out some stuff. And again, if you know, I've come from strength and conditioning background. We'll be having bands there where you can come and do pull-ups. So again, people that can't necessarily do this stuff or maybe a bit afraid, come and have a go. You know, there's no pressure here. Come and have some fun. And then probably the biggest thing for me is the knowledge base that that's my big thing, isn't it? We're building a theatre. We're going to have talks on nutrition, hydration, injury management, injury prevention, which are for everybody. And then we've got some more specialist talks. So talk on media. Another thing that doesn't get dealt with very much with MMA guys is media. As an athlete, which I was, we used to have media training. UK Athletics used to bring guys in and teach us about media, how to talk, especially after a race when you're knackered. And if you kind of got an idea of what you want to say beforehand, you look smart, you look more professional. That comes across to the guys that we want to involve in the sport, and also to the sponsors. And then we've got talks from Mark Goddard, UFC referee.
Yeah.
Introduction to what judges and referees are looking for. So again, have an understanding. So again, building what MMA is about. So there's a lot going on over the weekend.
I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the seminars, because you have a who's who of UK MMA and mixed martial arts appearing there, and I'm going to tax your memories a little bit now, because there's a lot of them. But can you give us an idea of sort of who's going to be there and what kind of seminars they're going to be running?
Yeah, I mean, in the first, there's two types basically. We've got sort of sat down speech-based seminars. We've got things like the Q&A sessions. The Women of Combat seminars are a fantastic one. We've got 4 of the best women you could think of to represent combat sports. Rosie Sexton obviously just made a debut in the UFC. Jojo Calderwood, who's an up-and-coming female
undefeated
as well, anti-boxing background. Julie Kitchen, 14 times world Muay Thai champion, and Helen Curry, who's the first BJJ female black belt in the UK. Just received a second Dan as well in BJJ, I believe. So you couldn't pick 4 better women to represent combat sports, and it's about driving more people into the sport. Women are probably more hesitant to get involved in MMA gyms than anyone. We get a lot of kids starting, we get a lot of guys starting. But it's just driving more people to get involved. We've got the Pioneers of UK MMA Expo, which is one I'm really excited about for the sort of hardcore fans who've been around the sport a long time.
And for the guys that necessarily don't know the history of MMA as well, these guys did some amazing things, Guys like Lee Hasdall.
Lee Hasdall obviously fought in Japan and
fought Fedor. Like people don't know that, fought one of the guys that was seen as unbeatable.
The greatest.
He fought without gloves as well. We got Ian Freeman and Lee Remedios, Mark Weir, you couldn't pick 4 better pioneers of the sport in the UK than those guys, and I'm sure they'll have some great stories to entertain. And
definitely.
And on top of that, then you have some of the most current of the leaders in UK MMA. Can you talk us a little bit about it?
The training-based seminars, again, we've kind of got 2 types. We've got what we'd call a fan training seminar, where you've got meet a big star
and come and do some training, and quite easy going. So you don't have to be a trained martial artist to come and kind of enjoy it and work with these guys. And even if you do train, you're always going to pick up a nugget of information from these guys, and that's you always should be trying to add to your strings to your bow.
Then we've also got sort of technical training seminars. So for the fighters, a lot of the coaches who are top level coaches that people might not have heard of in the general public, but you're going to learn a hell of a lot more on that type
We've got guys like Rob Sinclair doing similar. He's just signed to Bellator. He's again one of the sort of fighters that the Expo is kind of based around. These guys who are great fighters that should be known throughout the world, let alone just our own country. He's just been signed to Bellator, and we'd actually already sorted out the Expo before the seminar before that, which is great. He's doing a striking for against grapplers, right? That's right. So learn how to take strikes strike off your back. Again, these little functional bits that you'll pick up. An hour seminar, you won't get super sweaty. Well, you might do actually with Rob. He's he's back in shape.
I refuse to make comment about getting sweaty with Rob, because these boys will take the piss forever.
We just announced that we got the Gypsy Jiu-Jitsu seminar. I don't know if we should call it that, but
Gypsy Jits. I think he'd be upset if you didn't. I think
so. I will not discuss what he's actually going to be doing, but every report I've had about John is awesome. And again, we kind of looked at who can we bring in that the fans are going to enjoy, but also going to give a good seminar. We've got Shay Mills running a seminar. Unfortunately, obviously, he's been dropped from the UFC. From my point of view, UFC is not the be-all and end-all. No. But again, the reports we had back is that he's a great coach. Again, if you're a fighter, you're going to pick up some nuggets. But actually, if he's still a great fighter, just because he's not in the UFC now, you're still going to come and get to meet him and interact with him in a way that you wouldn't if you just met him on the street, for instance. So, there's a lot Ian Freeman's doing a seminar with Ian Butlin.
That's right, yeah, ground and pound.
Ground and pound. Jimmy Manawa, you know, if you want to learn how to knock people out, you know, Jimmy's coming down.
We're volunteering, Jay, for that seminar, aren't we?
I'm pretty sure that's what Jimmy will be going through. Is you know, that's what he's known for. He's striking.
The technicals ones as well. I mean, Dave Jackson, you know, obviously Wolf Slayer, striking coach. He's taught some of the best in the world. You know,
Check and Rampage, you know, and they're known for their and Bisbing, yeah. So he'll be doing a striking based seminar.
We've got an exclusive one as well that we can reveal as well.
Well, hang on, wait for that exclusive. We'll be back in a moment. You know, you were saying that you had something that you wanted to announce.
Yeah, we've got a really good technical seminar. I think people who've been involved in MMA for a long time will have heard of this guy, Jack Mountford. He's one of the original catch wrestlers from back in the days. In his 70s now, but the guy still rolls. He's amazing.
Fountain of information. It's
works
ridiculous.
with Darren Morris over at Atherton Submission.
See, I'm going to sound such a geek now because he's the British Stu Hart.
Right.
And he is the British Stu Hart. This guy is, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, Atherton have got a great team down there. You know, Mike Wilkinson. They train guys like Rob Broughton, Tom Blackledge. You know, some top level guys. But I'm sure the stuff Jack's going to show is going to be amazing, and it's a good opportunity to train with him. You know, within his 70s now. So.
And then so there's our next person for the Tap Out Challenge. Methinks, Jay, you can have a great time at this event. Yeah. You some of these seminars, the practical ones. You know, as a customer, do I need to come? You know, with my kit? Do I have to be prepared to? Is that what we should?
You can do, yeah. I mean, there should be places available on the day, but obviously the seminars are being sold in advance, and once we reach a sold out level, that's it. We can only fit so many people on the mat. So if you do want to get on that, it's better to get online and book
just bring a kit. You know, you won't need a massive amount, but if you've got your gear, you've got some gloves, bring them along. You know, I'm sure we can make provision. Yeah, or you know, there's going to be stands there selling discounted stock. You know, so you're going to be able to pick up a bargain and then training them as well.
Yeah.
So works both ways.
And seminars are running both days. You have events going on both days. For the casual fan that's going to walk in, why attend both? You know, it's a two-day exhibition.
We spread things out so that you can attend both days. Like I said, there's a lot going on. On the Saturday, we've got the K1, the Thai boxing, the kickboxing going on. On the Sunday, we've got the grappling champs. We've got the talks are different throughout the weekend, so we've tried to put as much in as we can without being overkill, basically.
It's the kind of thing that you want to spend the weekend on, though. I mean, it's cheaper to go for 2 days for a start. It's only £15 for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
We've got a great show on in the evening as well. So, you know, you may as well come over, cheap hotel, spend the weekend.
And the ticket price includes access to watching those.
So daytime events.
Yeah, the evening show, which is Fight Icon, it's going to be Return of Fight Icon. That's a separate ticket. But apart from that, most of the other stuff that's going on, other than the seminars again, which is a separate ticket, is free to see. We've got open workouts going on as well in the cage. The other thing that I think you've got to pay for will be the photo signing. So again, these guys, they've only got so much time, and bearing in mind, the guys that are coming like Jimmy and those guys, they want to come and have a look around themselves and interact, because that's the big thing about these guys. They're accessible, they enjoy the sport, so they want to go and meet other people, they want to go and meet some of their sponsors, go and see what else is going on, and maybe talk to those guys about getting some sponsorship. So yeah, we've got the photo signings going on, which most of the guys have either got an hour or half an hour slot. With that, you get to come in the cage, pose with them. I'm not sure how many poses they let you do. Maybe some double leg takedowns. No, come and pose with these guys in a cage, possibly with a fight banner behind them. Yeah. That photo's taken professionally. It's imprinted and it'll be signed by the fighter, and then it's mounted in a frame.
Wow.
So they're £10. There's obviously costs involved in that, but that is a keepsake that. It's going to be hard to find anywhere else. I'm sure these guys will have access to photos if you just want to have a photo taken with them, but this is an option for the guys that really want something that's a little bit more special. Collectors, it's printed there and then professionally, and then signed for you as well. So
and of course, do the fighters actually get a small share of that as well?
Again,
because it's hardly not a lot of money in fighting at the moment.
Most of the funds actually goes to the photographer, because we have to bring them in. It's special printing equipment, but there's definitely a kickback for the fighters, and I'll be honest with you, there's one or two fighters that are not on that list for the sole reason they don't want anybody having to pay to have their photograph with them, which I found amazing, because again, it's about giving back to these guys. Like you said, they don't get paid a lot of money. Even the guys that fight in the UFC don't get paid a lot of money, and this ain't going to earn them a lot of money, but it's about giving back. They're giving up their time,
and the accessibility for sort of the general public to meet these guys is going to be fairly open.
Yeah, definitely.
How important is that to what you're trying to build with the expo? That sort of relationship between the athlete and the fan.
I think it's probably paramount. Again, with MMA, the guys, when you meet them, like me and Darren involved in MMA every weekend, I referee and judge myself. So when you meet these guys, even at top level, 99.9% of them are really great guys, and they are really personable. So that's kind of the point. If you meet these guys, you meet them, he's a really nice guy. Didn't really know who he was before. I'm going to watch him fight. He's now got another fan.
Yeah.
You tell your friends about him. He's now got 2-3 fans.
Yeah.
He goes out and performs. He gets even more fans. So it's a roll-on effect. But we have to put these guys in front of people. And when you get to know somebody, even for 5 minutes, even you meet someone, say hello, and they smile at you, you've got a personal touch with them now. So that's definitely a big part of it for me, anyway. And I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, the fight it's about marketing yourself. You know, like with a media course and everything like that. You know, you can be the greatest fighter in the world, but if you don't interact with people, you know, promotions are going to have less interest.
I think people like Colin Fletcher, for instance, is a great show of that. That, you know, he's a good fighter, but he's a character. But if you meet him, he's the nicest guy in the world. We went up to Bama in Newcastle, and obviously he was out in his clown outfit. He stopped and spoke and had time. He was in the middle of conversations. People said, "Can I have a photograph?" Yes, he'd stop his conversation, have a photograph of him. You know, that's why people love him, because he's not just a good fighter; he's a great character, and he's a good person. He's a genuine person. So,
you know, what do you want the MMA Expo to become? Is it, and you know, forgive my cynicism because I've met some promoters. It doesn't seem to me that you guys are in it for the money. So,
thankfully,
and so. You know, what is it that you want from, I mean, I'm going to be cheesy, this is your baby, how do you want it to grow up?
Well, it was meant to be a showcase, really. That was the whole idea. You know, I've done promotions in the past. My first show, Fight Icon, as good as it was.
I didn't mean anything about promoters.
Well, you know, it was an award-winning show, but as you've seen these days, there's so many shows, you know, and for us, I mean, I'm passionate about the sport, but I'm also passionate about it being portrayed in the right way. With the show now, we're trying to raise the bar. And the only way to do that with so many other productions around there was to do something like an expo, I think, and sort of get these standards set.
And you talk about, you know, the expo itself not making a lot of money, which is right. But if the sport grows and continues to grow, you not only increase the participation at the grassroots, you have more companies come involved. You get more, you know, Nike and Burger King in America are now sponsoring fighters. So while this may not make money, the sport grows, and Darren runs a gym. I referee and I judge. You know, so as the sport grows, the income for the sport grows. So yeah, while it's not about money for us, it's the greater good almost, and you know, everybody starts to earn a little bit more money from it, and it becomes more professional, and it rolls on like that. So
there's a lot of people involved in MMA that are working for that sort of greater good. You know, they're trying to push the sport to get to that level. And I think if it does, then anybody involved is going to benefit.
Yeah, definitely.
Term, yeah.
We often hear, you know, fighters should get paid more. You know, the sport should be bigger. We said, okay. Me and Darren said, okay, let's do that then. So, you know, for me, I like it. We sort of being one of them big, giant, inflatable balls on the river. If everyone runs in the same direction, it goes fast and you get to where you're going. If everybody scrambles around in a different direction, it doesn't happen. And the expos are one single event yearly that everybody can get together. We've all got some different ideas about how the sports will move forward, but we can get together and drive the sport forward, which is about participation, which is the number one thing.
Yeah, we're not competing with the promotions. You know, we're kind of bringing promotions together. That's the idea of it. You know, so we can all work together and advance the sport.
Definitely.
Like a yearly get together as such. You know, for the guys involved. You know, we can put aside the differences for a weekend at least.
I'm going to come back to that in just a moment, but we'll take a pause for a second.
All right.
I'm going to branch off from my last question because I said how do you see it growing and developing? So I'm going to say the MMA Expo in 5 years' time. What do you want from it? And not necessarily from a personal perspective, but for MMA, what do you want for the MMA Expo in 5 years' time?
I think once we've got the first year out of the way, because we've already talked about people sort of hesitation, sitting on the fence until we do that, I can see it growing massively. I think in 5 years' time.
It'll be. We want it to be an event that it's in your diary from day one. So as soon as you've been, it's in your diary for next year, and you know you're looking forward to it, and people are talking about it almost for that whole year. For me, like I said before, come from a strength and conditioning background, and it's one of the areas I think that will help push the sport forward. So we've got talks this year on, like I said, different aspects, nutrition, strength and conditioning. For me, I kind of want to see that pushed one stage further, so we almost have a coming together for coaches. I think there's a lot of coaches out there don't quite understand strength and conditioning. So what happens is they're either scared of it or they do it wrong. Strength and conditioning coaches are specialists. If you understand strength and conditioning, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach, and we can talk about it, you understand what I'm doing, you understand how to best get out your fighter, when best to use certain sessions. So for me, I think that's one of the things I'd like to push in the coming years. We've already spoke to a few top level coaches about coming in and help, so we get together, so the coaches get together, some of the fighters get together and really grow that side of it, because again, that really pushes the athletes to the next level. You know, in America, these are things that are already being done, and we've got, you know, a lot of our top level fighters that go out to America as well. So for me, even if it's like on a Friday, so we expand it to 3 days, for instance, and we have a coming together, all the coaches in the UK, everyone just coming together and pushing the sport forward. That's definitely one aspect that I'd like to see kind of pushed on.
I mean, you have representatives from some of the biggest promotions, not just in the UK but worldwide. You have UFC people and UFC vets. You have Cage Warriors. You have Bellator. You have Invicta. You have BAMA. You have, you know, how important is it to bring those promotions together under this umbrella? And has that proved to be more of a challenge than perhaps you thought?
Yes and yes.
Next question. I love those quick ones.
I think me and Darren said before, you know, if we'd had probably just gone on a personal journey with this, it would have been a lot more simple process, wouldn't it? We really have tried to include everybody, which, like most things when you try to include people, when you put a party together, it becomes difficult when you try to please everybody. But I think most people get the idea now. I think most people understand that this isn't a personal thing. It isn't just us trying to do something for ourselves. Yeah. It's about the sport, and I think they're realising that they not only should but need to be on board with it as well. So yeah, there's been a lot of phone calls being made, some to America, some to other countries, and you know, and really trying to make this thing as big as it can be and as good as it can be as well. You know, it's not just about being big; it's about being, you know, a great event. So
we've talked about the grappling championship and the K1 and the kickboxing, but on the Saturday night, Fight Icon returns. Can you talk a little bit about the event, what people can expect from it?
Yeah, we're really raising the bar on this one massively. We're actually in partnerships with PL Holdings and Event City themselves. They've been a massive help with us. The venue's fantastic. But in terms of the production values, we've really tried to raise that now.
I think we touched on, didn't we, that there's a lot of shows out there. There are some good shows, there's some bad shows. And when I say bad shows, it doesn't necessarily mean fighters, it's just the way people are dealt with sometimes. Even as a referee, I've been to places, I'm like, really? You know? So we kind of looked at it and said, well, fights are fights at the end of the day. You know, you can make them as good as you can, you matchmake as well as you can. Sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't. What's kind of lacking to some extent, okay, how do we get out away from just a hardcore fan that wants to watch MMA? And we kind of sat down and spoke about it and said, okay, let's raise the bar on this and let's create an event. You know, you go to like a concert, you go there because the artist is performing, but you go there for the atmosphere, and that's what we've really tried to build and create.
The effects team we've got on set, for example, work on the X Factor.
Right,
you know,
X Factor Live. They run the X Factor Live show. So,
yeah.
As a fighter, I was lucky. I fought on one of the biggest Thai boxing shows that's ever been held in the UK. With MMA, it's a bit different because you've got the UFC.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't say this is going to be the biggest and best in terms of production, but it really is. You know, I'm a showman. I don't really like fighting.
Yeah.
I like the idea of fighting. So I love my entrances, and I've said it before. I've got some great photographs. If I went to sponsors, they'd see my photographs. They'd be like, "This guy's amazing," because of the way it's set up, the sound, the lighting. These things have to be set up correctly. The room we're using, I said, if you lights, lasers,
I think anybody that
smoke,
doesn't get
flames.
on board to this show is going to say, "Wow, we've got to go next year."
Yeah,
it's
almost like it will be the show that you want to fight on. And then my hope is that maybe we can link in with some of the organisations as well. So it really is a showcase, you know. For Fight Icon, it's Safe MMA registered, which is another, you know, a thing that I think it needs to be pushed a lot more, and it will be. So it's Safe MMA registered. We've got, you know, top class referee, top class doctor. We've got cut man used by the top organisation, UFC. So in terms of what we're doing, that in the background, it's great. It's always been synonymous with Fight Icon. The fighters, anyone that's fought on Fight Icon will say we got looked after. We're just taking the bar, not just one. It really is, the effects that are going to be on there.
And are we looking at a mixture of amateur and pro bouts? Is that the...
It is, yeah. We've got 4 pro fights signed so far. We're looking for 6. You know what it's like with fights.
Yeah.
They chop and change daily. But yeah, the amateur, we're pushing unified amateur rules now, so it'll all be, as they used to call A-class, ground and pound amateur fights.
I was going to ask the question because it's the one thing about amateur rule sets that drives me flipping mad.
Try being a referee.
Answered that.
Try being a referee, it makes it worse. But again, it's kind of, that's the next level, Another way of pushing MMA is raising the amateur standards. So guys don't have to turn pro. You don't have to go and fight and basically fight anybody. You can have this good amateur career, and then you're ready. Then when you turn pro, you maybe need 2 or 3 fights, and then you're ready for the big organisations. So again, it's a showcase for those guys to show their skills. Just because you're amateur, in my opinion, some of the amateur fights are actually better than some of the pro
And
fights.
you're still looking for a few fighters. Still,
We've got most of
possible.
We've got some good fights matched, but as I just said earlier, fight cards.
How do
change,
they
so if people
how do
want
they
to
get
on
on board and straight to there?
If you're interested in getting on the card, even if next year, if not this year, drop us an email, info@ukmmexpo.co.uk. Obviously,
speak to your coach. Yeah, we've probably been in touch with their coach. So because we have looked around, it's not just a local based show. We're trying to bring guys in from all areas, which is what the expo is about anyway. So,
and is Fight Icon, is this sort of the rebirth of Fight Icon? So we're going to see sort of 3-4 events a year, or are you going to say Fight Icon for the expo and try and bring?
I think so. Yeah,
people in?
that's the plan so far. To have it as a once a year annual event. A big show once a year. What happens after the expo?
See, straight away, I get dream matches flashing in my like matches that 2 British. I'm gonna use the one that I've been on Twitter about all the time. Cage Warriors and Bama, Pendred versus Mills. Not Mills, sorry. Sorry, Jimmy. Pendred versus Jimmy Wallhead. I mean, that's a fight everybody... I think there's not a fan who don't want to see it, but there's no way it's ever going to happen unless it's brought under an umbrella
and as I said, it'd be great, whether or not these organisations would be willing to do that is a whole different ball game. But like I said, the setup we've got, it can happen, and the way the arena's built with the tiered seating, we can make it as big or as small as we need it to be. So you're always going to have the right atmosphere there. And if these guys want to put it together, let's do it. It only helps the sport. Whether or not it happens is a different question. But the opportunity will be there if needs be. So
the event is now finished. It's July 23rd. What do you think your personal highlights are going to be? It's hard. I suppose it's impossible to think about the event itself, but certainly all the work you've put in leading up to it. What are the personal highlights?
Sleep.
That's about as honest an answer as I've ever heard.
Honestly, I've working, and Darren's working 60, 70 hours. I see Darren's wife just as much as he does nowadays. We keep saying it. We've put together things that we'd love to see and do, and as fans, what we'd like to see, and we're going to get to see none of it. So
I've said sleep after every event I've done, but after every event I've done, I've ended up staying up at night promoting the next one, and also, like you say, catching up on stuff because I want to go to all these seminars myself.
Yeah.
But we're going to be running around doing so many things. I think we'll be watching all the video footage after for a few days.
I said sleep. I can guarantee by the time the expo is over, in fact, when the expo comes along, we'll have the next year's date already set. So I already know, knowing Darren and knowing myself and knowing this process, all we'll be doing is saying, okay, what can we improve on? Which we've already got ideas for next year, and it'll just start. So the highlight will be it finishing, everyone going, wow, that was amazing. It actually happened. Can't wait till next year, and us starting next year's planning. To be honest, I think that'll be the highlight for us.
John, I want to thank you. I mean, you travelled all the way down to see us and to talk about what I think is probably the best thing to happen to UK MMA since in a long time. Safe MMA and this are the 2 biggest steps forward this country's made in MMA for a long time.
Definitely.
Please give us details, events, when, time, costs. Plug the event.
Yeah, July the 20th and 21st, which I believe at the time of this going out, it's about 3.5 weeks. So get your tickets early, guys, because it will be more on the door. Event City itself, fantastic venue. You can come down, spend the weekend there. It's right next to the Trafford Centre. If your partner's not into MMA, send them shopping.
Amen.
We're
dragging them in so they
can get lost in the Trafford Centre for a long time.
Venue, there's free parking. It's
parking right next door. Like I say, free parking. It's only £10 a ticket. We couldn't for the day pass. I don't think we could have done it any cheaper. When we looked at how other people set up expos, that's not how they do it. They charge £25, £30, £15 for the weekends.
Yeah.
You know, 2 days of MMA. You know,
kids are completely free. Kids under 14.
If you come with an adult, it's 14 or under, you get in free. And like I said, there's a lot of most of the events within the expo are free to watch. The open workouts are free to watch. The knowledge theatre is free to watch. The gym zone's free to watch. We've got the Ring Girl of the Year competition, which will now be up online. So get voted.
Sean, do you need another judge?
We've been offered a lot. In fact, we do, because we're also running. It's a bad name right now. It's called Fight Fit. Again, a big aspect of MMA is, and getting people to participate is, they like the look of a fighter. You know, the world's moving away from bodybuilding and the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and the Sylvester Stallones into what a fighter's body, an athlete's body. The great thing about athlete's body is functional. So we're in the process.
I model myself personally after Roy Nelson.
Oh, there you go.
We're all right there.
Me as well at the moment. So yeah, we're going to be running a competition for guys as well. So if you look good and your body's good and you can use it, there's a competition there. We've got some good sponsors on board for that. The likes of Smuggling Duds, Coconut Oil.
We want to show the world that MMA is not just about competitive fighting. You know, it's got a lot to offer everybody. You know, whether you just want to get fit, look after yourself. It's about bringing the broad market into the sport now, I think, as well.
And Manchester's a great venue as well. It's seen as north, but actually, you know, from Midlands it's an hour and 20 minutes. Even from London, you go to London, to get into central London, getting to London's easy. It's a pain to get there. Yeah. And then you know, the northeast as well. So it's a great location. An hour and a half, 2 hours. At £10 a ticket, if you're coming up from, say, Bristol or even further afield like Devon, you get 3 or 4 you got your friends involved. You put £10, £15 each in a petrol tank. For £25, £30, you're in an event. You're there. You're in an event. You're parked. You're having a great time. That's the same price it costs you to go to most events or most shows. Yeah. You know, you're already there. So there's a lot going on.
And for details, people can get in touch. www.ukmmaexpo.co.uk.
Yeah, Twitter, Facebook as well. You know, follow us on there. Any
MMA
updates are going to be
Expo.
updated on there, so you can keep an eye out on what's being added to the show.
We're about to release the timetable as well. Hopefully, maybe by the time this has gone out, maybe the weekend, the schedule of events will be up as well. Finally, as well. So. Yeah, there's nothing to
and we also know that, and we won't blab because we try not to on here, but we also know you're still looking to bring in a few more names that people recognize. So you're not going to stop work until the last minute of the last day.
We've been, going back to the show last year, we've been very careful about what we announce. Yeah. There's things that we could have announced a long time ago that we haven't because it wasn't signed, sealed and delivered the way we'd want it. One of which was kind of mentioned last week by the fighter themselves, who's now been signed to fight. He's going to wait in America training camp. Yeah. So, yes, keep your eyes peeled. Believe me, there's got a lot of guys coming. We've got a lot of fighters coming, but there's still more to be added. So don't wait. Get your tickets now. Get your tickets now. Or you'll be disappointed.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Darren Sherlock,
thanks,
Paul Crossley, UK MMA Expo, Manchester, Event City, July 20th and 21st at 15 quid a weekend. You'd be stupid to miss it. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for your time. It's been great. Thank you.
You know, there must be tons and tons of people who are working with you to make this happen. You know, what do you have to say to all of the people and all the companies that are working with you?
Just a big thank you. I don't think we could name individuals. There has been so many people. There's been people from the moment we thought about this that we contacted and asked their thoughts on it that have said, get on this. This is great. You know, I think they know who they are. Anybody that's helped, the companies that are coming and supporting us in our first year, that have said, okay, we'll bite the bullet, we'll come there, we'll provide products and create something for people to come and deal with.
There's so many people behind it. It's great to see that. I don't want to miss anybody out. Mentioning a few, you know.
And we've also got a lot of the guys that are coming down sponsoring some of the events that are going on. So for the fighters, for the competitions, you know, there's prizes available for those guys as well. So for those guys, you know, just again,
and I also think people tend to forget. You know, we talk about MMA and they always think professional, but there is an amateur side that you guys are throwing your weight behind and getting people to help support.
Definitely.
As well.
Well, they've just announced the formation of the amateur UK MMA Federation, which I think is going to be fantastic and kind of been in the background for a while, and that's hopefully something that definitely in the future years will become a big part of the expo as well. So I think there's a lot of guys working hard on that as well. I just think the future's bright for MMA. You know, I think everybody that's working hard for it just needs, you know, pat themselves on the back really and come to the expo and we'll pat you on the back as well. So
excellent, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait till the event.